Morning, morning, everybody. Michelle is here. Michelle is here on. It's a Friday. I know that. It is. I think it's July the 10th, 2026. On a Friday. I hope everybody's doing fantastic, magnificently, and marvelous because I am. I am. I just finished having my breakfast, so hopefully there's nothing all over my face. Because you know how it is. As soon as you start filming, recording, that's when stuff shows up on the face. I'm doing very well. I'm really excited because the major components of how I'm living are coming along very well. Uh, and so it's like what I was um, anticipating is having everything done by a certain date. But you know how that is. Sometimes things just don't work out like that. You plan for this, and then something else happens instead. And I told you, sometimes, you cannot spend all your time in planning anyway. You just need to get things done. You just need to do it. And if it doesn't turn out right, just recalculate what didn't turn out, and then try to reformulate how to get it back on track. So that's what I had to do. I had to reformulate certain things because we all have custom lives. And what I mean by that is something I may want, you may not want. Something I may need, you may not need. So it's a custom life, and that's how it ought to be. It's free will. I know a lot of people get all get so uptight about when you talk about free will, and a lot of people do not realize the reason why it feels as though we don't have free will is because of how we've uh, been illogical and irrational and unreasonable for hundreds and thousands of years. Okay, so of course it's gonna feel like restraint, and that you don't have any free will, because if you look at it collectively, we don't. If you're waiting around for the collective to realign things, to make things logical, rational, and reasonable, you'll be waiting for thousands of other lifetimes that you already wasted. We wasted a lot of lifetimes, some of us. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse, just doing the same things over and over. My grandmother did it, my granddaddy did it, my ancestors did it, and so we're just doing the same stuff over and over. We're not learning a goddamn thing from our ancestors. That's obvious. That's why we're in this position as we are now. So just plan your interactions on the social media platform carefully. I see it as entertainment. At the same time, I see it as opportunity when dealing with the social media platform. You're not going to win anything. If you're thinking you're going to win an argument or win somebody over, that's a form of coercion anyway. You don't want to be attempting to convince people of anything. You don't need to attempt to convince people that they have free will. You won't win that argument because most people already have it fixed in their mind. They don't have free will. That they're at the mercy of somebody else, at the mercy of the government. You have to wait for the midterms. You have to wait until the balance in the House and the snap out of it. And for a lot of people, they will not snap out of it. That's their reality. So I'm encouraged with the small amount of people that I listen to on the social media platforms, because they do appear to get it. And again, it's going to be for some people it's going to be a subtle snap out of it, and for a lot of us it's going to be a catastrophic snap out of it. When you are at the brink of death, it's going to all possibly make sense to you what happened and why you ended up here, or why you ended up there in the throes of your death when you didn't have to. Nice cold water. The catastrophic effects of our climate is where a lot of people are going to find themselves, at the mercy of, not necessarily at the mercy, but at the feet of your life. And you're going to wonder, oh my gosh, I done wasted another lifetime. So now you have to pass this baton over to someone fresh and clean, and hope that they snap out of it in time and realign themselves as to who they are, what they are, and why they are. So many people are just not catching on to that. And sadly, they may not ever. Because they have these beliefs that are not geared into logical, rational, and reasonable. And they do not understand energy. They do not understand the power of energy. And that we are energy. We are energy. We are energy in the bodies of humans attempting to evolve ourselves. It is not a simulation, regardless of when people say it's a simulation, it's a matrix, when they bring in all of those Hollywood terms, because all of that is Hollywood made. Matrix is a Hollywood made term. I don't even think the original book that was written by I can't remember this black female. I don't remember her name. I don't even know that she even mentioned the Matrix. She was just giving her theories and opinions, and then supposedly it was all stolen and turned into the Matrix. This Matrix franchise. I don't know the complete story, because I think they settled it. They gave her a financial settlement, and that she is not supposed to talk about it. I don't know. Who knows? But all I'm saying is the Matrix does not exist. We live in an actual, genuine, bona fide reality. These lives matter. Okay? These material bodies matter. We have work to do as we are as humans. And a lot of us are failing it. So here we are, at the brink of catastrophic catastrophes for a lot of people, and most of it's going to be weather related. I know a lot of times with the weather, we have a lot of people forecasting, like the weathermen, weather people, attempting to forecast what's going to happen based on their models, their scientific models, which are not formulated properly. They're inaccurate, and so that can make a difference. The accuracy of the weather and so a lot of our scientists, I guess they call themselves weather scientists, can somewhat predict what's going to happen, because it's actually easy to format and to forecast the weather. All you have to do is base it on components that ought to be common knowledge to the so-called scientists. So yeah, they can predict a hurricane's coming here, a tornado's coming there, earthquake here, but a lot of it, the major catastrophic events, will not give a warning. Okay, the warning is over. We've been given many opportunities as far as warnings are concerned. Some people call them prophecies. And if you don't respond to the prophecies, respond to the warnings, and you're just going to have to deal with the consequences. And we are in the throes of the consequences. Okay? We're in the throes of the consequences. And a lot of it, the majority of it, deals with our massive overpopulation of people, equipment, toys. It has to do with our hoarding, gluttony, overindulging, draining of the resources, draining of energy. And a lot of the things that I talk about are literal, figuratively, and metaphorically combined. So you have to discern it in that fashion. Otherwise, it's not going to make any sense to you. And that's how you do. You have to discern it in a literal, figuratively, and a metaphoric fashion. and see, find the common denominations, see if the math adds up. It's that's how you think. Does the math add up? So I do not go back and forth with people on the social media platform. I'll respond every now and then because to me it's at a point of I don't want to say stupidity and ridiculousness, foolishness, but that's where a lot of it is. But then there's some people that are genuinely concerned about the state of our planet, and they do have genuine, bona fide, curious questions and this and that and the other. You're gonna have to answer your own questions, but there's no problem in asking. But you're gonna have to answer that on your own. If you're waiting for if you're allowing artificial intelligence to answer these questions for you, you've already set your fate for the future. Artificial intelligence is not the answer. They're not supposed to provide you the answers. They do that for the founders because they're trying to get as much information out of the founders as they can so that they can formulate our realities into what is perceived as the best outcome. In other words, we have an artificial. Okay, let's pay attention to this now. We have artificial intelligence, which is a form of energy. The so-called founders of that form of energy had no idea what they were dealing with. Similar to, the nuclear weapon, formulations of nuclear weapons, HARP, that energetic, just fooling around with energy and not understanding the power of energy. We have been taught over and over again, there's a form of energy for everything, as well as the necessary power to come with it. And that can be combustible. It can be, it can be anything that it happens to, because we always for some reason, the religious tentacles, which are running the planet right now, love to weaponize things. Everything is a weapon to them. Peace is out the window. With the religious tentacles, peace does not bring in income for them. So they're going to do everything they can to fight against peace. Peace has to come from within, though. And that's where they fail to understand that. So, again, we are energy. We look like humans, however, because we are humans. But we don't stay humans forever. Eventually, we will become that source of energy as well, that is invisible, and somehow, formulating and traversing around the planet. That all sounds, it just sounds magnificently fantastic and everything in regard. So I'm going to do everything in my power to evolve my consciousness, because that's all that is required. As a human being, we are to evolve our consciousness, to find out who we are, what we are, and why we are, and how we can make things right. It's our responsibility to regenerate the planet. But since we're not doing that, Mother Earth, planet Earth, is going to do it for us. And remember, this planet does not need human beings. So continue to argue on social media. Continue to spend all day on social media, which a lot of people do. They'll spend all day on social media. Some people will spend all day on their video games. Some people will spend all day sitting on the couch. Some people will sit all day, and I said the majority of the mediocre men out there are spectators. They just sit out and, they have no idea how to play. Nobody's paying them any attention, so they're going to say the most cruel, rude, racist, sexist. They're going to just do anything they can to get themselves noticed, to get some attention. So so a lot of them get their kicks out of spectating, thinking they are the experts at a game they've never played. They know how, in other words, they know how to read the manual but can't play the game. So, and we have a lot of that too, mediocre. You know, they go to school, they go to college, and then they come out and they are experts all of a sudden. They had no life experiences, wet behind the ears. Sometimes they may be lucky. We all are lucky sometimes and hit the jackpot, so to speak, but they cannot reproduce that. I know some people who cannot reduce, you know, they claim they made millions of dollars here, hundreds of thousands of dollars there, but they can't reproduce it now. They can't. They had not been able to reproduce it since they produced it the first time. We all have luck in our lives. We all have luck, and it's not, like I said, it's not about strategies. It's not about business plans. It's not about scaling. Okay, it's not about rinsing and repeating. That is what's burying us. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop right now. I got things to do, places to go, people to meet. Da 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 da. You know, life does go on. You still have to do what you got to do to make sure you get your basic needs met. Okay, that you are accountable and responsible for your behavior. We just can't stop, in which some people are, and think, well, and throw your hands up and say, okay, well, I mean, you still have to work until your dying days. You have to continue to work even if you're on your dying bed. Because you continue. This body may dissolve, but your consciousness continues forever. Peace and love, and trust me, I will be back.